Also, don't start 10 channels at the same time. Start with one channel, one campaign, see if it's working or not. And then once you understand a bit, add another one. Don't start like 10 different channels and then try to figure out what actually works.
Welcome to the Marketing Academy podcast by GCMO, where in every episode we sit down with a marketing expert to deep dive into a hot topic shaping the industry. I'm Yitzy Tannenbaum. Let's get started. Welcome to the Marketing Academy podcast by GCMO. I'm Yitzy, and today we have a great episode for you. We have Elina Papernaya.
Yeah, very good.
Who is the head of go-to-market at Alta. And our topic today, we're going to talk about all things growth, and it should be fun. So before we jump into it, Alina, tell us a little bit about you, how you ended up in this crazy world of marketing.
That's a great question. So, hi, happy to be here. So, a little bit of myself. I'm currently in Alta for the last 3 years. I'm leading all the go-to-market within Alta, demand gen, brand content, pipeline, a bit of RevOps. It's a startup, so you kind of wear many hats at the same time. Before that, I'm actually coming from a partnership and business development background. That's what I did on Monday for 5 years. It was really fun, also kind of building pipeline through partnership and through channel and generating revenue and so on. And I am in Tel Aviv for the last 10 years. I moved here from Belarus, and I'm happy to be here. Very exciting.
And you should say that you were one of the OG Monday people. You were employee 70?
Employee 70. Spent 5 years, left 6 months after IPO.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think in Alta, I'm also an OG by now. We're like 50 people or maybe even a little bit more. And I joined, I was the first business hire. I joined the founders that I met from Monday.com times before there was anything in terms of the product or marketing, and kind of helped them build things from scratch, which is also not very typical, I think. You don't usually hire people like business people, but it was really fun. So here I am.
So you like the smaller startup?
Yeah, I like to build things. I like to build from 0 to 1, from 1 to 10. And that's the exciting part.
So talk to us a little bit about that. How do you start building that? It's often called the growth engine, right? Like usually you come into nothing, you start putting $400 on Meta ads or Google, whatever it is. How do you start building out that engine? Where do you start? What's day one? What does it look like?
I think firstly, actually, it started with the product marketing, which I think you will be happy to hear about it, because you need to first to define who's your ICP, what is the value prop, what is your positioning, what is actually are you marketing. A lot of times startups just kind of go all in into getting leads, but they don't really know who are they trying to sell to or what are they trying to sell. So in a way, you can see growth is also a way to test different messaging and different value proposition and different ICP. So that's really helpful as well. But I think, and then once you define actually what you want to run with, then you start to map out, okay, who is your audience? Where do they live? What is the problems you're solving? And then based on that, you can kind of reverse engineering from there. Like, okay, are they searching on Google? Are they asking in Reddit? Are they going to discos like developer communities and so on? So you're basically trying to live a life of the potential customer and trying to think where can you grab them from.
Now, defining the ICP is very important, both for marketing, but also for sales and for to actually getting your product out there. I found that in small startups, sometimes the ICP is in what everyone thinks the ICP is.
In big companies as well, by the way.
Right, that's true.
Like if you ask sales, they will tell you one thing. If you ask the founders, they will tell you maybe the different thing. And then the marketer will say, no, look, but everyone who's coming to our website, they're like totally different audience. So I think it's really important to have this alignment and actually look at maybe even in the revenue, like who are the customers who are actually buying, who are using the product, and not just like who do you think this product is for.
That's a good point, right? Doing the research before you go to it. Okay, so you define your ICP. We make it sound easy, but it's not. You find your top use cases. If you're the first, I'm assuming you're creating a lot of the content.
Yeah, you create a lot of content. Again, it depends kind of which channels that you want to go for, because based on your RCP, you have different channel, like channel fit, it's called. So, if you're selling to enterprises versus SMBs, or if you're B2C or versus B2B, it will be totally different channels.
Right.
Funnel, the flow will be different. So you kind of need to like sit down a little bit and think about it. Not too long, because anyway, the best thing is to test stuff. That's also like a growth mindset. Don't spend a month of building a plan. Spend like a few days, test it out, and then adjust accordingly.
Right. Although the problem with smaller companies is that budgets are limited and you only have a certain amount, right?
Yeah, I agree. But I guess it depends. When we started, we just did a landing page, very,
Okay.
very simple. And we opened a Google Ads campaign to see like if people are searching. And even before we did the landing page, I did a keyword research to understand what is the volume, right? If people are even searching for the product. I recently met with someone who just joined a startup and she asked me like, where do I start? I was like, okay, in order to, did you do keywords research? Do you understand what people are searching for? Like, it helps you also with your value proposition, with your positioning statement. So there's a lot of like insights you can get from research. And then you do the testing and then you
Right.
see, okay, if people are looking for, AI sales tools, great. If there's a lot of demand, people actually do book a demo or sign up, whatever is the flow. Okay, you got your signals there, and then you can like scale and what is the next thing after AI in sales? Maybe AI in business development or
Right.
AI in sales tools. I don't know. There is all the different variations around it.
So right. So you need to test, figure out what works, and then replicate and go from there.
Exactly.
Now, usually when you start out, you're working with a branding agency, right?
We didn't have a branding agency.
So who did branding?
Ourselves, it's me and
Wow.
my colleague Gal. He's amazing. We work together on Monday. He's the brand genius. So we did it ourselves. Also, I think in the end of the day, because if you're still in the testing mode, don't overthink it.
Mm.
You're testing, you're getting the feedback from the market, and then if it's good, then you're making it better. But if it's not good, then if before you test, you're just gonna waste time on like a big agency.
I think the idea of testing is something that is very strong and common in B2C. And I think it's something that us in B2B need to learn better because we don't have the scale, we don't have the numbers as B2C has.
Yeah. So you don't always need to have big numbers to do different testing. So I'm not a data scientist, but I know like we have people that we consulted with. You don't need to have big data sometimes to find results. So even again, for like Google Ads test, you just see if you get leads. If you can get 5 leads, what is the cost of those leads? If you don't get any leads from there, maybe you need to see if people are clicking on your ad, but they're not converting. Maybe something is wrong with the landing page, right? The other way around, if people are not clicking on the ad, then maybe like the ad text does not make sense for what they're searching for. So different parts in the funnel will tell you different like learnings, basically.
Right. Now, are there any low-hanging fruits for the smaller companies that don't have crazy budget, that different growth kind of hacking ways or ways to go about things when you don't have crazy budgets?
Yeah, of course. I think that's like the challenging part when you don't have the budget. What do you do? I think you can use the community. Okay. So I think the most obvious thing is like the founder-led sales where they know, the other companies. If you have investors, they can also help you with like introductions and so on. There's a lot of meetups that you can just come and meet people and mingle around. You can partner up as well. That usually doesn't cost money. So you can find partners, either like consulting partners or tech partners. If you feel like there is an overlap of the ICP, go back to ICP all the time. You think about the ICP, their day in life of your potential customer. Who do they speak to? As I said, what do they do? And you try to plug yourself in that day. If that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I think it's true across marketing and the entire company. But I think us as marketing, we need to spearhead that. Looking at our customers, who are they? What are they feeling? What motivates them? What wakes up in their morning? What's not, what problem are we solving now for them? That's a big part of it, but also who they are. What are they experiencing? I think getting into the mindset of who we're selling to and who we're marketing to and what they feel. And if we're able to tap into that, that's kind of the magic sauce. And the budget, yes, you could do a lot with budget, but sometimes when you just hit the customer exactly where they are with what they're looking for, that's kind of the magic sauce that we look for.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of case studies out there how you can create virality loops from like, UGC content, for example. Let's say if there's something that they can share on their social once they're happy, use that. There is lots of different tricks that, again, like HubSpot also is a great one. It's like a bit of a old school approach, but they did lots of demand gen through content. Okay. There's lots of different ways. And I think just kind of being out there and trying to learn It's super important.
Now, customer case studies and using your customers in marketing. I will plug our episode we did with Adi Barlev on customer marketing. But yeah, using customers and having customers talk about it. Because look, as a buyer, I know that I'll almost always go to the product that I heard from a friend, that someone on the podcast told me, because I want to know that it worked for someone else, so I'm going to use it too. So getting customers to talk on your behalf is true. It is a low-hanging fruit. So you did mention that you spent some time with partnership growth. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I guess, again, depends on who is your ICP. You have different type of partnerships, right? You have like the referral partnerships, which can be often consulting companies, individual consultants.
Right. So like channel partners.
Yeah, it's basically channel partners, but like referral is the lightweight model where they just refer customers to you.
So like an affiliate.
Yeah, in a way like an affiliate. Affiliate is a bit more online, people who do a lot of content and they put a link. Consultants is, for example, if someone is consulting a startup about like go-to-market strategy and we sell a product for go-to-market, they can say, okay, actually Alta is a great product, you should check them out. So that's like an easy one to start with in a way. And you could get really good referrals and first customers this way. Or you can go to bigger customers like channel partners, and that's like literally the full ecosystem of companies that sell software.
Right.
They do it via referring, reselling, doing services and onboarding and so on. And they can also help you learn a lot about your market and your, the needs and the audience and so on. That's like another one. And I think the third, which is totally different, is the technology partnerships. So, for example, if you're a DevOps tool that is sitting on top of AWS, you probably should be looking into AWS ecosystem, in the AWS partnerships, put an app on the marketplace, try to build a relationship. It does take time. Those things, partnerships is a bit of a long-term thing. But if you're building something sustainable, I think it's really important.
I went down the rabbit hole of Amazon partnerships, of Microsoft partnerships. I like to think of it as a video game where you kind of
levels. Yeah, exactly.
You unlock different levels and different capabilities. But I do want to go back to the world of growth. In the world of growth marketing, we're almost obsessed with data and analyzing, which we should be. But sometimes we don't analyze the right things. How do we make sure that what we're doing and the data we're analyzing actually influences the bottom line and the ROI?
Yeah, it's a $1 million question, I think. I think at the end of the day, what matters is, qualified leads that convert to opportunities and therefore customers. And then, there's different ways to try to measure it. I think the rule number one is don't overcomplicate it, especially if you're starting on. Also, don't start 10 channels at the same time. Start with one channel, one campaign, see if it's working or not. And then once you understand a bit, add another one. Don't start like 10 different channels and then try to figure out what actually works. Right. It's something that I always try to say. For example, before we were about to do a lot of organic LinkedIn posts. And then we were thinking, should we do also paid ads on LinkedIn? And I was like, no, let's do a month or a month and a half of organic before we had paid, just to understand if we see an uplift, where it's coming from.
Right.
So I think apply the logic in a way, very simplified. Of course, once you do the scale, it's important to have the infrastructure. It's important to understand where each dollar goes to. But I think in the beginning, just start lean. Start with 1-2 things at maximum, and then either cut them out before you adding anything new if it doesn't work.
When I look for a strong growth marketer, I like to define it as someone who knows to take $1 and stretch it to the maximum, right?
Yeah. So I think it's important. I think also it's a lot of part of the growth methodology is thinking about marketing as loops, growth loops, and not a funnel. And I think the main difference is within the funnel, right? You start big and then you kind of go small. With loop, it's a compounding growth. It's wherever if one loop finishes, it starts a different loop. I'll give you an example. It's a bit complex. It's actually not that complex, but it sounds complex. So example can be, let's say, YouTube ads, okay? So we're doing lots of YouTube ads. They're based on the awareness, meaning we want to reach the right people. We want to as much as possible. We're not asking them we are asking them to click, but we're not expecting them to convert straight there. So they can see our ads, and then firstly, they can afterwards just go and look for Alta on browser. Great. Or they can just click on it and then leave. But then once they click on the ad and they are our website visitors, then we do an outbound campaign on them.
Mm.
So we can grab the people who are visiting on your website, filter out those only that match the ICP, and then reach out to them on LinkedIn. And literally the best part was to listen to sales calls when the prospects were like, oh my God, it was so weird. I just saw your app on YouTube. And like the next day you sent me a message on LinkedIn and this is why I replied. I would never reply. I was like, yeah, it works. So it's like also quite impressive, I think, for people to think about it. So example here, you have like a acquisition, like brand virality loop that is fitting into the outbound. And then it can be the other way around. You can do an outbound campaign. And then people who open your email, you can like have an audience of people who open your email and then do retargeting kind of ads for them on LinkedIn. Okay, because you already have their email, their job, and so on. And that also works really, really well. So in the end, you're just compounding the impact of one channel together with another channel. Then attribution becomes more complex. But as I said earlier, don't overcomplicate the attributions.
So that's really cool. It's looking at the growth mechanism as a full single kind of one machine, and you just have different levers to use. You have email, you have Google, you have YouTube, right? And you just kind of play with them together. Now, it sounds great. I think everyone listening will agree. I assume the hard part is building that machine.
Yeah, orchestrating it in a way. I think the easiest thing is just like take a piece of paper and just try to like map things out. You can do Miro, whiteboard, if you're more into tech stuff. I like the,
Pen and
old school
paper.
pen and paper. That's the best way for me. And just think about like, okay, if I, again, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Okay, so your ad, I click on it. Then what is the best way for me to grab them on a different channel? So you just kind of like try to think of the flow, kind of customer journey, as they like to say it in B2B SaaS, and see kind of where can you grab them. I'll give you another example, which I really think it's pretty cool, is the events. Okay, I think a lot of marketers, they see events as like a one-time off thing. It's an event. We go to the event, we fly the team, we get the scans, we send them a campaign. Well, we're kind of separating events into before, during, and after.
Mm-hmm.
Before the event, there's different ways. Even if you're actually not sponsoring or even attending the event, you can have the people, you can find people who are going to this event.
Right.
Either by them writing on LinkedIn that they're going, and then you can kind of like the social signal from the event, or there's ways to kind of scrap the information, like sponsors. You can, if sponsors are there, so the people from this company are going to be there. So it's kind of all these little hacks. And then, so we do campaign before the event saying, hey, I'm going to go be at event X. Let's grab a coffee. So kind of pre-event, and it's all automated with the platform. So it takes like 10 minutes to set up. We also always, because we're based here in Tel Aviv, so going somewhere, especially these days, it's complex, expensive. We all know that. So we're maximizing our cost there. We also organize like a happy hour or a dinner, but we don't ask. There's all the companies that do that. We just do the same campaign on LinkedIn, the outreach campaign, and saying, hey, we're going to do a dinner. People love to go for dinners and happy hours. And this is where you do like the first touch. You kind of put your name there. You don't expect them to buy your product right after the dinner. That's not the goal. The goal is to create this awareness in the community. And then during the event, I can tell you something really cool. We didn't go to this event, but one of our biggest competitors, they did like a huge campaign, brand campaign. They were like the diamond sponsor of the event. They were like huge branding everywhere. And what we did was like, okay, that's the zip code of the event. So I told my Google Ads team, I was like, let's increase our bids for this zip code. So everyone who's searching for their name, we'll try to like put find out that before, or like if they're looking for like whatever is their tagline is, we're gonna like bid on this tagline. So we kind of like riding the wave of their budget, and it worked really well. And it was super cool. And you can also even personalize the ad itself. Like, are you now with this? Like, check out Alta or whatever. It's like, I think people appreciate it. The customers, I think they're like, again, depends who you're selling to. If you're selling to like B2B, I think they also appreciate good marketing, like all the hacks. So it was really cool. And then after the event, there's also like this compounding, like it's immediate instant follow-ups. And then a month later, you can send them a webinar. So you kind of like build your audience in the end. It's not just like, okay, that's a campaign. You're trying to, and then you can retarget them again on LinkedIn that I mentioned earlier. So you look at it as like, this is my pool. This is the people that I have. And I'm trying to kind of push and pull them in different places.
And what's really cool is what you're saying. Not only do you want to take all the growth channels and build them into that single journey, you're looking outside of growth, even events and meetups, and
Yeah.
building every single touch point that we as marketers have, build that into a single journey and meet your customer along that journey and bring them down what we used to call funnels that you're calling loops, and kind of walk with them throughout that entire path.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of easier when you're maybe a small team and like you're
Right.
in charge of all the channels. And I think once you're a bigger team and you have all these different channels, and everyone kind of responsible for their piece of the pie in a way. But I think maybe it's important to have the mindset, it's part of the onboarding, part of building the culture of your marketing org. Like we're all here in one team. We're not competing off like attribution and like I brought this lead. Like, I don't know, there's a ways to, I think, build this properly as a marketing leader.
Right.
And make sure you have like constant syncs. If someone is doing this campaign, then the other channel knows about it and they're making sure that everything is ready. It's not always easy, but I think that's kind of what makes you maximize every dollar spent in a way.
Do you have any guidance on how to track, because it's so all over the place? Like, do you have, or kind of to automate steps? How do I know that this customer or this or prospect saw a YouTube ad, then saw me on LinkedIn, then met me at an event, like, and then I need to trigger an email? How do I know which path? Because it sounds like each customer goes on their own loop, right? It's not the same loop for everyone.
No.
So how do I know at what point do I need to send an email? Is there any way to figure that out?
I think it's a difficult question because I don't think there is one playbook that
Right.
fits to everyone. I think if you have enough data, you can just analyze. You'll be like, okay, I'm going to look at all my best customers, not leads, customers. Who are my best customers? I'm going to reverse engineering actually. Where did they come from? Which journey they took? Did we get them through the email? Did we get them from a YouTube ad? Like, what was the thing that maybe like this was their last touch? And try to replicate it. But I think in the end of the day, if it works, you will see that it works.
Right.
And there's all of these like signals as well. Like there is the first and second and third party signals. So the first is whatever is, let's say if someone download an ebook, if someone click on email, if something. So there is all the different platforms like HubSpot, like CRM is probably going to give you the signals as well. And you have different like data providers for second and third party signals. You can combine them into like one journey. Again, it's really, I think to start with, you don't have to have a very complex journey. Like we don't really have a very sophisticated system in place for like events and attributions. We just see, okay, this person booked a meeting and then I just like look into what they did. And I was like, okay, so maybe we need to do more of that. That's it.
And it's simple, but it's a good point, right? You have to see what works and try to replicate it.
Yeah, exactly.
That definitely makes sense. You've said you've been doing this for a while. How has AI changed, if at all, or influenced how you approach building out these journeys, building out a growth strategy, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's definitely there's things that are much faster and easier to do with AI, like, I don't know, building some landing pages and messaging and like doing tests, taking a landing page, duplicating it and slightly adjusting it. Probably takes now like an hour, can take an hour where it would take a day earlier. So you can definitely, like you can definitely move much faster than before. So it definitely helps. We use our own platform, which is an AI tool for like sales and marketing for all the outreach for both inbound and outbound. So
Cool.
I'll give you an example, which is pretty cool, I think, and was not available before. So if someone comes to our website, we have this widget at like bottom right corner. Is Alex. He's like an inbound agent. So it's very similar to like support chat that we're kind of familiar with, but this agent is a sales agent. He's not here to just give you support. He's there to convert you and qualify you. So you can even like, it's an AI calling agent. So you can like talk to it in a browser with your voice if you're lazy to type. There are people who prefer to type, and that's like a full on, obviously, an AI agent. Where their goal is, again, not to solve the ticket. Their goal is to qualify and then book a meeting with a salesperson. We get hundreds of those a month.
Wow.
It's as I said, is you're combining the traffic that you get on your website and you're trying to convert it through like creative ways. So that's like obviously an AI agent. Like it wasn't available before. You would need to have people who are answering there or calling on the browser, speaking with AI. It was also like not something that we could think about. That's really works for us. I think also the fact that you can do like personalization at scale. You can like get all the signals that we just spoke about. and like send this like to thousands of people, but it's going to be personalized based on whatever they did. So you can say, hey, John, we met at this event and you spoke with Jonathan and you discussed this and that. So let's talk.
Right.
It will be one message, and then another message will be whatever. Like I saw that you download our ebook and you've seen our ads. So I think maybe it's a good time to speak. Before that, you'd need to have people sitting down, as you said, trying to understand who did what, trying to personalize this. So now you don't have to. We don't have any, let's say, we don't have any SDRs. All the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel is fully automated.
Wow.
With AI, which is great. Obviously makes it much easier. And every time we do a change, it's also much, like the change is being implemented much faster because you just kind of change the prompt in a way or change something instead of like now taking 10 people in the room, explaining to them that now we're changing our messaging or whatever. So I think it makes things fast. You move faster. You can do things at scale. You don't need like big resources and teams. I think there is obviously downsides as well. Sometimes like things look very much the same. We all know it, especially when it comes to content.
I was going to say, I assume that for a smaller company, usually you would have to get a freelancer to help with creating content. If you were the first marketer, creating content would take time. Now you could pump out two, 3 blogs in a few hours. But then, right, there's a downside that it's very generic, that it's not exciting,
Yeah, I think another great example of like an AI that I find fascinating. So let's say we have lots of inbound leads coming with a certain pain point, and they say, okay, I want Alta to do X, Y, and Z. And then it's actually, once we have enough inbound, our outbound messaging is adjusted in the real time. So we see that, for example, VP sales have a different pain point than VP marketing that come to our website. So when we're targeting VP sales in the outbound, we're actually going to pinpoint, I don't know, like scaling the team pain that we are solving versus if it's VP marketing is building pipeline, for example. So I think that's also something that was not possible before we had an AI. You would have to have a meeting. You would have to be, someone would give you a report. This is what we're coming with. Then you need to make a decision. It would take like a week. Here, it kind of happens in real time, automatically. Or if we analyze that we see more manufacturing companies suddenly coming to our website and leaving contact us form, maybe something happened in the manufacturing, so we should do an outbound to them as well.
Right.
And it's kind of adjusting in the real time, which is super cool.
Look, I anticipate the very near future, and I'm sure there are already companies that are there where the website is tailored to the person, right? So
yeah. It's funny you saying it. We just spoke about it yesterday. But there's like few startups that are doing it now. Like you have like a personalized landing pages based on who is the person that's coming to the website. I think it's, wow, I was impressed. I'm always like, how do they know who is the person? So I guess that's like that's the secret sauce.
No, but you're a growth marketer. They've known who we are for a very long time. Yeah.
Cookies, all of they're buying or not.
Right. No, but knowing the persona, because they're companies that the personas vary very much, right? Like Monday is a great example. You have a lot of different personas. So if you could talk to that, like forget about the person's name. Actually, that's something I don't like when an ad will be like, oh, for white men of this age. I'm like, okay, you know who I am. That doesn't.
You don't know what I need.
Right. But like if you're able to say, hey, for CFOs in whatever region, right? Like, or you could talk to the use cases that are more tailored for me. I think that would hit a lot harder, right?
Right, I agree. Or like if suddenly, like that's what I'm saying. It's super interesting to see the reaction of people who, let's say they were like looking on Google, how do I build a team? And then suddenly they get an ad that says, this is how you build a team. They're like, oh my God. And then they get a message saying, hey, I can help you build a team. You're like, wow, they know everything about me. And this is kind of this buying signals that we use a lot and talk. And I was speaking earlier, like there is all the different signals that you can get telling you that this person can be relevant. So you should try and like target them more.
Right. And but how would you, where would you find those signals, I guess?
So there's different ones. There is like company level signals and contact level signals. For example, if company, we know all the obvious ones, they just got the funding, okay? And you're selling them the software, it's probably a good time because they got the budget. If they're expanding into certain regions, maybe, which you can learn about from like different press releases and media and podcasts and like all the different like information that is out there. So that's part of the signals. Contact level signals would be someone got promoted or someone just joined a new role. We know that like probably all these new leaders that are joining the company in the first like 6 months, they're bringing different tools. So like it's a very good signal. It's usually on LinkedIn. There you can see that. People writing on LinkedIn or like on Reddit, that's social signals. So we also can we listen to whatever people write on LinkedIn. So if they're writing about AI tools for sales, I'm like, okay, this person is relevant. People who are following your competitor pages, they can be relevant, right? Mm-hmm. People who are following influencers in your space. There's lots of influencers out there. So you can even target the people who are commenting on your
it's endless. But we recently raised around and every single outreach that I got was congratulations on series blah blah blah, and I'm like, how does that connect to what we're talking? Like,
yeah.
But everyone who messaged started with that.
I think it's like a very common one, which became a commodity. But I'll give you like a way how you can lever different signals and personalization. So, for example, something we're doing now. So, okay, you have companies that are hiring SDRs or salespeople. So there might be a need for the product, which is more personalized than just funding announcement, because it actually means that they have a need for some help. And then we can also get the names of their managers. Say, okay, I spoke with Yitzy and he told me that I should connect with you, or Yitzy forwarded me this email. You can also see what they're writing on LinkedIn about them. So, for example, they say, I like volunteering and I like to help dogs and all of that. So you kind of try to level different signals and context and try to not just make it generic, like, hey, congrats on your funding, because everyone, as you said, it's very generic. It's a company level. Everyone knows it. But the more deep you can go to try to understand what you can find about this person, about the company they need, then they have higher chances. Plus, you need to make sure that this person is looking for the solution like this.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. You level out the push and pull channels a bit in a way.
And again, you make it sound easy, but especially when you're a lean team, figuring that out at scale. I'm sure an SDR who kind of sits and spends time and can look at each individual can piece that together. But when you're looking to do it for hundreds and thousands of people, building that machine and building, I assume there are tools that you use to make that happen, right?
Yeah, so I think there is, I don't know if that's something like you heard before, there is this new term of go-to-market engineer. Have you heard about this before?
I don't think I have.
So actually Clay basically created this title, created this job. It's in a way, it's a combination, I think, between like traditional RevOps, people who kind of build systems on top of CRM, and an SDR who is actually building pipelines. So the way I see it, and I think kind of that's more or less common, hopefully, the GTM engineer, they're taking all these different systems, like your CRM, your data enrichment, your AI tools for outreach, your cloud apps, whatever, all these different things. They're building a system that is scalable, that now can automate lots of things. And that's kind of, my first hire was a go-to-market engineer. That's what I had, because I was like, okay, we need to scale. And now we need to build everything that I just discussed at scale. So I had someone who would build up, our HubSpot workflows and then connect it to Alta, and then build campaigns on Alta for both inbound and outbound. And then every time we have an event, we kind of level that on top of it. It's a bit complex, but it's not rocket science, okay? It's once you start lean and then you add on top of it, it makes it obviously much easier to make sure it doesn't break.
I guess for the next episode that we invite you to, you're going to have to tell us how to build that full machine. But are there any low-hanging fruits, any quick advice for either smaller companies or bigger companies who want to start putting those pieces together, taking those various channels or even the broader customer journey or loop and build those tools to put them together? Do you have any like quick advice or like a tool they could put together?
It's a great question. I think I want to believe there is one channel that works for you. Okay, like I think every company would have one channel that works. So try to think, how can you maximize it? So as I said earlier, if you have, I think your website visitors probably is like an easiest low-hanging fruit. If you have the traffic, there is like the widget that I mentioned earlier. You can like talk to the agent and like grab leads and schedule meetings from there. That's usually very lightweight ask from a prospect, and it's very engaging and people love doing it. So look at your website visitors, think how can you funnel them into meetings or like leads, sales leads. Think about the signals that I said earlier, like what would make people need your solution. like not just one, but like actually they need it. So try to listen to those signals and try to reach out to the people who are matching the signal. Do some research. I think also it's okay to do things manually to start with, because this is how you learn.
Right.
Do things manually and then only afterwards automate. Don't automate before you know what you're automating, because if you don't know what you're automating, then you're going to create a big mess.
So test and iterate, play around with things. It sounds like website visits tends to be more bottom of the funnel, right? So those are the further down the funnel you are, the, I guess, more valuable the leads. So just start plucking those and then kind of move your way up.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, usually the low-hanging fruit is the one that you can quick wins.
Quick wins, especially when you're in a smaller startup and there are limited resources.
Yeah.
You want to catch as much as you can, as quick as you can.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it becomes a loop. If you're doing an outbound campaign with a CTA to check out your website, here you go. Like, you need to just, like, you know that the website is the traffic source that you want to get. So everything you do, make sure if you collaborate with you're doing a podcast, make sure that your website is going to be as a CTA in the end of the podcast. So try to think how you can get the most traffic there, for example, and then squeeze the lemon out of it.
Right. Connect the things, think of the journey, think of what are they doing next, right? I think a lot of us think of the CTA as one thing, but I think it's a good point. It's where they went to. I don't know if you read these books when you were a kid, where it tells you to open at page, right? Like you to do this, you open a page 4. To do that, you open it at page 17. And I think each customer has their own path and their own journey. And when creating CTAs, and they don't always have to be growth. And this may be a problem in bigger companies when I only own growth, so I wouldn't send them to an event. But what we should do is kind of build the various steps to then lead to talk to a seller.
I agree.
Very cool. Okay, Alina, thank you so much. A lot of interesting things on how to build out a growth program. It's amazing where growth evolved to and where it is today and how much we know. And it's about using the data and figuring out the right path for each of our leads.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong thing. You just need to test it out and try and kind of keep an open mind all the time. I think that's like an important thing as well.
There you go. Alina, thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you.